All right. Well, welcome to our SAC Ask the Expert webinar series. We're excited today to be with Kathleen McEntee to be talking about PR. Who needs it? We'll learn more about that topic in just a moment. I'm going to introduce Kathy first. Kathy is a marketing expert and founder of Kathleen McEntee and Associates. And she is known for her straight talk and practical approach to business opportunities and challenges. With 30 years of experience, she's managed through upswings, downturns, evolutions, and derailments to deliver consistent results in marketing and business development for Fortune 100 private and entrepreneurial organizations. Certainly, these are definitely qualities that we need in today's world. She's also known for double-digit revenue and profit growth, and Kathy's a respected business builder, collaborative leader, dynamic speaker, and creative solutions provider. Her strength is quickly learning what makes a business work, understanding the target market, and delivering a plan on how best to communicate them. She sees the big picture, easily strategizes the plan, and assembles a marketing mix that works, from branding and logo development, marketing communications, and public relations to social media, advertising, and business and customer development. Kathleen McEntee and Associates delivers measured results. Kathy and I have known each other for many years, so I'm excited to have her help us facilitate a session here on branding and to be able to answer all of our questions. So this is a new, like I said, it's a new series because we are, really looking to have interactive sessions. We've heard feedback from our SAC members. So for those of you who are joining us on the archives, make sure you join us in person next time. We'd love to see you here. So with that said, Kathy, I will turn it over to you so that we can get started, and we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it. And good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending upon where you are. And Lisa, thank you for that very long introduction. I didn't realize it was as long as it's a lot harder to read something, or a lot easier to read something than it is to say something. So I apologize for that long introduction.
Oh, no, that's okay. It's actually good to know what we're, our topic at hand. So I figured we may as well go through it all.
Yeah. Well, thank you. PR is one of those gray areas that is hard for people to define, but when you need it, you need it. And so what I thought we would do is I created a few slides to kind of tee up the background of PR, and then we can get into an interactive session. I'm happy to answer any questions or give my perspective. So if you all don't mind, I'm going to share my screen very briefly with you and go over just a couple of things to tee up the topic. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay. So the question is PR, who needs it? When Lisa and I started talking about this session, she said, well, we need somebody to talk about PR. Could you maybe talk about PR? Because PR is different things to different people. And what I hear from a lot of people is PR, who cares and who really needs it, right? But what you find is everybody has a little different idea of what PR is and what it can do. So I went out to the Public Relations Society of America to get their take on it. Then I'm going to give you my take on it. So this is their take on it. Public relations is a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. And they're right, and things have changed through the years. And I was really glad to see that they had an explanation that talked about the process. Because really PR is a communication process. It's not one thing. In the past, PR meant a press release. Today, PR is much different, and it's much broader. The focus of PR, though, for our conversation today is to accomplish business objectives or underscore something from a business person. So the question is, why PR and who needs it? And I'm going to ask you another question, and that is, how do you find people or companies that you want to vet or that you're looking for? And how do people or companies find you? We're all business people. And I think the answer is pretty obvious. It's through the internet. And PR, like everything else, has changed through the years. Back in the Stone Ages, you would whip up a press release, put it in an envelope, mail it to a publication and hope that they printed it. And that was the extent of PR until a reporter contacted you and maybe you could pitch whatever idea you were selling. Today, it's a whole different ballgame. You know, the PR takes place in a non-active environment. By that, I mean people check you out on the internet. And what is said about you and what you say about yourself is what people find on the internet. So essentially, you control the narrative. So let's think about some narratives lately. Think about December and think about Southwest Airlines. It was a train wreck, right? And what I would submit to you is the reason it was as big a train wreck as it was is because Southwest Airlines said nothing. During the upheaval that they had, they said nothing to their customers and nothing to the public. It was when a pilot went on Facebook to explain that they were all sitting in the planes with nowhere to go because their IT system blew up, right? Not very good PR. And guess what? Subsequent to that, Southwest has done nothing except for to try to tell people that they would give them refunds or whatever compensation for the debacle. They still haven't gotten it right. Think of, whether you're a royalist or not, think of the PR associated with the Harry and Meghan and Buckingham Palace controversy. Neither side is doing it right. Harry and Meghan are out there whining, and that's where they're seen as, because that is what their narrative and that is what they have, their releases, their public relations releases have had. And with the palace being silent, it's been a train wreck for both sides. Doesn't matter who's right or wrong. What matters is the court of public opinion, and look at where that's gotten both of them. Most recently, over the weekend, the Silicon Valley bank failure. Think of, I don't know about you all, but I bank with Northern Trust. I have gotten emails from them assuring me that everything is fine in their banking system. In fact, as we speak, they have a webinar going on to talk about that. I also bank with Chase. They have been emailing people. The Wall Street Journal has had many an article out, and I'm continuing to get information from people. Why? Because they're positioning it. This is a crisis, so this is crisis PR, but they're positioning things to keep people calm and to really try to mitigate what could be horrible circumstances. PR is essential. And what I would tell you is the way to respond, the way you respond is always in your control. The narrative is always in your control. What determines the narrative is the strategy that you put behind that and what you want to say to your audience. So when you talk to your audience, what do you want to talk to them about? When you talk to your audience, you can position you can position your company. You can get ahead of a problem. Here's a problem that a company didn't get ahead of. On the West Coast, In-N-Out Burger is really pretty popular. In fact, I had one yesterday for lunch. Apparently, unbeknownst to a lot of us, and they don't publish it, they have a chili pepper called Cascabella. And apparently, if you request a Cascabella chili to be put on your In-N-Out burger, they'll do that. Well, due to supply chain problems, about a month ago or so, They couldn't get the Cascabella peppers. So instead, they just figured out nobody's going to really notice, and they substituted banana peppers. And they just put them on the burger. So when people would say Cascabella chili, they just put on a banana pepper. There has been a firestorm about this substitution because they never told anybody. So this has now become a PR nightmare for them, especially, I guess, regulars order this because they never said anything about it. So I also have a client who's in retail, and we had a situation not too long ago that could have been a nightmare. We had a vendor that we've been using for about 5 years, and the vendor provides software that can be put on a computer, and you can text your customers via your computer. So you're not having to use cell phones or whatever. And it was working out very well because our client works through appointment only. And so they were able to send text messages, and in the early days when we reopened from COVID, they were able to send information to people who had appointments confirming, yes, you don't have any symptoms of COVID and that sort of thing. So in November, and I'm an administrator for the software. In November, the software company emailed and said, by December the 1st, you have to answer some questions because there's all these additional rules and regulations about spam. We want to make sure you're not spamming people. So I went in, I answered the questions, thought nothing of it. And about, I want to say this was third week of December, on a Saturday, I get a text, an urgent text and phone calls from the location saying, we've got a huge problem. Our software is sending text to people we don't even know about, and they're sending a bizarre link to California EDD asking for unemployment information. What is this? So I contact the company. So I contact the company. The company accuses me of having a breach, which was totally not the case. And this software is independent of their system. Their administrative people started sending texts out to people saying, hi, our system has been breached. We're trying to correct it. And then they went on and on. Well, our system was not breached because their system is independent of this. And that system also houses credit cards. So from a PR standpoint, I ended up developing a statement that they could use so that their people were no longer telling people that our system was breached, which it wasn't, so that we wouldn't cause hysteria to our customers. So PR is a lot more than sending out a press release. It really focuses on strategic communication. Why? Because it's really about your brand, and it's about connecting with your, what I'll call your publics. This photo is meant to be blurry because the types of PR communication really crosses between many audiences. There's media relations, there's community relations, when you're dealing with cities or even communities or nonprofits in the community. PR communication extends to employees. A lot of companies forget that the first line of communication is their employees, and they need to treat their employees like customers and let them know what's going on. There, of course, is crisis communication. We talked about that. Public affairs, in case you deal with any government institution. But most importantly, PR communication is served online. And that's one of the main things that a lot of people really need to understand, that no matter what you put out there is going to be online. And there's a lot of different ways information, PR can be online. There's paid PR, or paid media, and that's primarily advertising that you pay for. There's earned media that is essentially advertising that you don't pay for. So media coverage, when people see a press release, or when they review your product, or when they mention you in a social post. There's shared media. So that's when a social media platform either shares your content, makes a mention of you, or puts something of your content on their website. And then there's owned media that you control, where you control the narrative. So whether it's making social posts or issuing press releases, it's the emails you send out, maybe you send out voicemails, it's whatever you have in your brochures or the letters that you mail, it's your website, it's your blog, and in today's world, believe it or not, direct mail is very impactful. So PR, who needs it? Everyone. So I just wanted to provide a little platform and a foundation for our conversation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. I thought it was important to kind of set that up. Then we can talk about some individual situations or questions that you may have.
Well, Kathy, I know that I forgot to mention this earlier, but you're a SAC member as well. And so you're familiar with SAC and the type of consultants we have, and we worked together for a long time as well. What would you say from a, hopefully, when a crisis arises, we certainly needs to be on top of it. But from a branding point of view, or trying to establish your brand, is there any of these strategies that you'd recommend more than others, or do you, what do you think about that idea? Because I think one of the things that several of our speakers, certainly Alan Weiss, is always talking about is like your, if you can create a buzz, I forgot what he calls it, but basically, a buzz out there where people are talking about you, so that you have customers or clients coming to you instead of like you having to go chase them down, basically.
Well, what I would say is, what do you want to be known for? And if you determine what you want to be known for, then that's what you talk about. You talk about to create a buzz. Yes, create a press release, issue a press release. There's any number of press release or of organizations who can push that out on the internet. Put that information in addition to a press release. It should be on your website. It should be on LinkedIn. So, for example, when people Google whatever your area of specialty is, or let's say your name to check you out, guess what? Within the first 3 positions, your LinkedIn profile is in there. What does your LinkedIn profile say, right? And your LinkedIn profile should say exactly what you want people to know, because you control the narrative.
Yeah.
And you're the one who has to determine what you're going to say. So how do you create the buzz? First of all, you figure out what you want to say about what you do, and most importantly, what distinguishes you from your competition, or how you're going to distinguish yourself from the competition. And then you need to place those communications in places where people will find them. LinkedIn profile. And Facebook's like the phone book. You need to be on it, but you put the information on there. Twitter. Reporters go to Twitter for sources. Are you going to communicate to a prospective client that what your specialty is on Twitter? Maybe not so much, but if you make posts on Twitter, they will find that. So the posts that you make on Twitter should be initially, especially about what you want to be known for, or what your area of expertise is.
Yeah.
Trade publications. If you're part of a trade organization, send your publications, send an article, whatever, to those publications, so that's what you become known for. But you have the opportunity to do that. Waiting for somebody to talk about who you are and what you do, you're going to be waiting quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very.
Does that
much.
answer your question?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I'll throw out there too that as a part of SAC, we have a partnership or a discount that you can use with Expert Click, which is one way to, it's probably one of the least expensive ways to get your press releases out there. And you can do like, I think it's, do you know, Kathy, it's like one a day or one a week. I don't know, more than
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah, I use Expert Click too. You can use the Expert Click for press releases. You can use it for articles as well. So if you have an article that you've written that you think is important, you can publish it on Expert Click and it will get internet, what I'll call internet juice.
Yep.
So that's important as well. Yeah.
And another one, just to throw it out there, because it's related to the press release part of the topic, because there's a lot of aspects here, but is Dan Janal's service, and Dan Janal's a SAC member as well. And his service is more where, actually, maybe you could talk to that, Kathy, because I think there's, well, let me back up. So Dan Janal has a press release service, but he also does PR news or PR or something or other. But anyway, go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, so I also use Dan Janal's services, and Dan Janal is connected with Cision, which is a premier platform for issuing press releases. So depending upon the type of information you have, where you want it positioned, that is a very good source of that. He assists people in writing books. He does a number of things, none the least of which is if you want to do some sort of an email to publications, they can provide you lists of that as well. So, and we have used his service for that, because getting to reporters and sending out your press releases or your information to reporters is important. Reporters change companies like we change clothes. So it's important to have fresh information. They can provide those lists for you, and they can slice them, dice them by industry, by region, by locale. So that's another very good source, and we use that too. Yeah.
Well, I'll let some of the other folks, if you guys have questions, I have plenty of them, but I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask any. So does anybody have any questions or things you'd like to run by Kathy?
I have something. I've been using Expert Click, for a long time. I'm not marketing so much, given what's going on in my personal life. But a friend of mine said, "Well, why don't you just post your articles on LinkedIn? I mean, why even pay for Expert Click?" And then he also didn't like the logo of Expert Click, because they've got this big thing, that's in it. So.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The function behind Expert Click is really to get the information out there. I wouldn't worry so much about, how it looks, because the idea is to get it out on the internet. The audience for LinkedIn is different than the audience from Expert Click. So you're right. Your friend is right. You can publish on LinkedIn, but in most cases, that's most likely going to go to your audience. Or if it goes to beyond your audience, it's going to be a much more limited audience than to Expert Click. So I would use both. I think LinkedIn is good. And LinkedIn, by the way, is celebrating 20 years this month.
Really?
Yes, I can't believe it. And I signed on early on, and it's evolved. They still don't do a really good job with company pages. Now their narrative is, well, it's slower to develop an audience with company page. No, they've not done a very good job with company pages. That's why when you post something on LinkedIn, you really need to post on your individual profile as well as your company profile, because the audiences are different, and in most cases, If people are connected to you personally, they most likely are not going to connect with your company. So you need to post to both of them. But your audiences are different, so I would do both. I would continue to use Expert Click, and he can connect you. If you give him a little nudge, he can feature something that you are issuing that week. He can feature it to other Expert Click people. I issued a press release for one of our clients who is in the space of providing expert witnesses for attorneys. And I issued a press release for them. He featured her, and I got 2 leads out of it. I got a couple of people that emailed me saying, hey, we need an expert in X, Y, and Z. Could you connect me with these people? Which I did, which wasn't a problem. So, I would use both of them. If people see something twice, so if you become more top of mind.
Actually, being top of mind is really important, I found. So I lead a group of trusted advisors. And what I've found is that people I thought I would never forget because they were really, really involved do leave my mind when they're no longer top of mind and I'm not seeing anything from them or talking to them. So it is, I do find that that's helpful. A good question, Maynard. So Sophie or Sean, Diane or Liz, do you guys have any, or Pam, do you guys have any questions you want to run by Kathy? I don't want to take up all the time because I have many. You guys are all on mute if you, by the way, if you're speaking. So, but I'll ask another while you think through it. So, so Kathy, we were talking a bit about press releases. So there's Expert Click, there's PR Newswire, which Dan Janal can give you a block of press releases.
Right.
And you also, when you send a press release out, you also could develop your own list of reporters that you referred to, right? And send that out that way as well. I know that when I do it, we use all 3 avenues. And what I find is that I have folks contacting me like, oh, that's an interesting topic. Would you give a quote on this? Or that's an interesting one. Can you speak on that? And sometimes they seem to get it from different ways. Like some people find it through, well, obviously all 3 avenues, Expert Click, PR Newswire. I don't necessarily use I certainly don't use all of them every time because PR Newswire is really more for the press releases that you think are more important because it's not inexpensive. But anyway, that's what I tend to do. Is that what you find overall with your clients, Kathy? Is that like, it doesn't, it's hard to predict. They get picked up in different places.
Yeah, the way that, so PR Newswire, Cision, same thing. And I would agree with you. So if I have a press release that I want to make sure gets picked up by multiple publications and has what I'll call the biggest amount of Google juice, I will send it through Dan Jamal. If it is a press release that I want swirling around in the internet, but I'm not that worried about whether it becomes a number 1 or number 2 or number 3 position, then I'll put it on Expert Click. What you don't want to do is you don't want to do it in both places because the internet collides with each other when they see a press release from 2 different services. So that's what you don't want to do. So you want one or the other. But you always want to supplement it with a proprietary list. So I have a proprietary list for each one of our clients, actually, that we have built based upon publications we've run into or the trade associations that they belong to. And we push the press release out to them. Now, they may have already seen it online because many times they'll have a Google alert based upon some keywords. But it's all about being top of mind. And, these reporters or the people that are influencers all take information in differently. They may pay attention to an email much more than they'll pay attention to a wire. Or sometimes they'll scan what's coming in through the wire and they ignore emails, right? It just kind of depends. So we always supplement. We tend to get individuals. We try when we supplement, do I want to supplement and email the Wall Street Journal? The chances of a Wall Street Journal reporter responding to us is slim to none. They'll go more for the big wires. But if they're a smaller trade publication, they're probably going to respond to an email of a press release personally, because they want some sort of connection with us. And so that's the value of having a proprietary list. And it's about building relationships with the reporters. Many times a reporter will quote a client of ours, and when we issue the next release, they'll say, we worked with you before. Can you talk about X, Y, and Z? And sometimes, we all have multiple specialties. Maybe it's in the same industry, but it's multiple specialties. Sometimes their brains aren't wired around all those multiple specialties. So the more press releases you issue about different aspects of what you know, the more familiar they become with your expertise, and they'll rely on you for quotes or whatever on stories that they're working on.
Well, it certainly seems to work that way for me, is what I found. And also just having several press releases out there with, you have to say something of value, obviously, but having more out there helps your Google juice as well, because it's hard to predict. But, when when reporters search for a key topic, it seems like they find me that way as well, just from old, former press releases that I've done, which is good. Now, Sophie, I don't know, Sophie, but basically Sophie does like business with, helping folks come in from, or helping folks start up businesses in the US from the Netherlands and other places in Europe. I know our PR channels here are going to certainly relate to the US, but do you know if they have international arms in them as well, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think they do. But I think it's all right. Were you asking Sophie?
No, go ahead. No, I was
for the
asking.
question, Lisa.
Well, I just
wondering,
know you're on the call, so I thought I would ask
am, thank
something
you,
related
thank
to you.
Yeah, they have regions that they can push the releases out to. So you have to buy into those. But yes, they have as you termed it, arms within areas of Europe. And I think Europe is considered one area, that South America, Africa, I think I know there are different arms, and you can buy into those. Expert Click, I don't think so. But for PR Newswire, Cizian, yes.
I would still think that Expert Click would be valuable, because some of Sophie's contacts obviously are coming from here and looking in US region. And I think, and actually I got my first quote, just so that everybody knows here, from ABC News, and it came from Expert Click. So you never know. And that was like the first time that I ever had a quote. So obviously once you get quoted, well, I don't know if it's obvious, but once you get quoted a lot, because I started getting quoted a lot, then it kind of builds on itself and people start calling you. But getting started is not as easy as it seems. And so I ended up getting my first one through Expert Click.
And I would also think that it's interesting, even if it wouldn't appear in Europe, that you can put the link on your website, because for Europeans, it's even more powerful if they see that you have been quoted in the American press than in a local Belgian press, for example. So I will definitely look into that.
That's a good question, actually, Sophie, or at least it brings up a question in my mind. So Kathy, I know what I do for me, but once you have these press releases out there, what should we be doing with our website as it relates to press releases, or I don't know, maybe PR in general, but that might
so anytime you issue something, let's talk about a press release. Anytime you issue a press release, you should, if you do it on Expert Click or you do it on PR Newswire or any other wire service, you should have some sort of a link to that. It'll generate some sort of a link online. You should post that with a little bit of an introduction in your social media channels, so that you can start getting what I'll call the internet juice swirling around. The other thing you should do is you should also post it on your website. So there's a couple of schools of thought. The first school of thought is you put the whole press release on your website and you put the link at the end, or you just do an introduction to the press release, like a first couple of sentences with a link. If you have a blog, or if you have a place on your website that you devote to press releases, definitely put the entire press release on your website, and at the end, put the link to whatever internet service that you have used. But you definitely want to put it on your website, because that is how your PR reputation is going to build, because people perceive press releases as unbiased, independent, third-party recommendations. They kind of don't see that you've written it yourself, right? Because a press release is more factual than anything else. It's not meant to really influence people. It's meant to state the facts, right? And so by adding it to your website, you're kind of propping up or recommending yourself based upon what you said of yourself. So that's what's important. So definitely, you anytime you do anything like that, you should put it on your press on your website. SAC has correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, every 2 months, SAC comes out.
Thank you for bringing this up, because it's a really good question, or a really good point.
SAC issues through Expert Click, they issue a press release that talks about a specific topic. It's open to any SAC member to comment on. The reason that that's really good is that you can take the link that's generated from that SAC press release and you can put that on your website. You can put it on LinkedIn. And I make a point of being quoted in that SAC press release every other month, so that I've got juice going on. So if you go to my website, you'll see every SAC, every individual SAC comment that I have made listed on my website. Why? Because you want to backlink to other websites, and you want those websites to backlink to you. That's all part of getting Google juice going, which is part of PR. The thing you want to, and what's good about making commentary on SAC is you're controlling the narrative. You're controlling your own narrative. You're talking about your brand. You're establishing your reputation. You're establishing a specialty within your area of expertise, that people can continue to understand who you are, what you do, what distinguishes you from your competition, and most importantly, what you know about and what's important.
So I figured, thank you, Kathy, for bringing this up. Really good point. So we are doing exactly what Kathy suggests, because of course, Linda is a guru as well in marketing and PR. And so we're posting the press releases here. They also, are going out on Expert Click. And as you can see, like, for example, we have my website, because of course I do the same at what Kathy suggests, and make sure I'm quoted in each press release. And it has a backlink to my website, which gives me additional Google juice. So it is, we're in a SAC session. So by all means, that's one of the key benefits of being a member. So I would definitely recommend to, come up with a quote that relates to the topics we're submitting, which, by the way, your quotes can be received only through today for our next press release. So why not jump on it and send us a quote? And you could submit it through the SAC portal, which is if you log on, you'll be able to submit a press release that way.
So Diane has a question. I assume we all need a PR strategy. It's in the chat. Sounds like Expert Click is a no-brainer. Yes, it is. It's one of many. He happens to be a SAC member, Mitch. So, you know, I always try to support people who support organizations I'm a participant in. Can you offer general progression for building PR strategy over time? So your PR strategy really, what I would say is your strategy should be to develop your reputation, right? You have to determine what you want to be known for. And then your strategy is how are you going to deliver that? So and I would say start small. I mean, this no-brainer stuff, issue a press release, put it on your website, focus on LinkedIn, and begin to develop the commentary as you want it delivered about you, right? I mean, so, I think everybody has kind of seen some of the commentary that has been developed for Lisa, supply chain expertise. She's headed it now into the PSYOP process. She talks about, well, you can.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I'm
and she
all over the place in the news.
Well, yeah, and she talks about building relationships, improving profit, reducing inventories. That sort of, you have to determine what you want to be known for. And then the strategy behind that is, where do you want your first placements? How do you want them to see you? And how do you want to roll that out? I hope that makes sense.
I just thought of something.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Well, and Diane, I had a thought about this as Kathy was talking here. So Kathy, one of the things that I've tried to do, and I believe that you've recommended it, but I won't put words in your mouth. And that is like, tie what you want to be known for to, you can always tie it to something going on in the news. So, you know, Silicon Valley Bank, you know, has an issue with branding. You can tie to it because you're a marketing consultant. You know, I could tie to it from a perspective of, do you have enough cash flow? Are you managing that effectively? So like, is that a good idea? So it's like something that's top of mind that people are interested in.
So perfect example, this in and out thing, right? That's a marketing train wreck, right? And it's a customer service train wreck. So if you can talk about it from a supply chain situation, right? I can talk about it from a PR situation and a customer service situation. Different people, you can take your area of specialty and you can apply your area of specialty to something in the news. And I think, and that's right. And you can use that to issue as your press release. You know, your commentary to something in the news. You know, I have a lot of people say, well, there's nothing really interesting in our business. Wrong. It doesn't have to be interesting or new in your business. What you just need to adapt your area of expertise to something that's current.
Yeah. Yes. A really good point. And I thought of it, so I wanted to like ask you that question if it was appropriate. The other thing that made me think of it when Diane was saying it. So we have folks who are highly experienced in SAC, and we have folks who are newer. And for each topic, that would be true. So there's going to be some people who are newer to PR and some, you know, old pros, if you will. But on the newer side, like you said, I found that like trying to do too many things is just quite unsuccessful. Like you should try to be consistent. So would you like what occurs to me is I might start doing a press release, like, I don't know, at least once a quarter, possibly. Does something like that make sense to you, or what would you think?
Yeah, I would say the first thing you have to do is you have to figure out what you want to be known for. And you have
that's step one.
You have to get your narrative down, right? And then the first thing I would focus on is the immediate channels that you can have the biggest impact in. Your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook, if you have, right? Twitter,
Yep, good
whatever
point.
you want. If you're B2C for whatever reason, Instagram, right? So kind of get that low-hanging fruit out of the way. If you don't have a website, you need a website. If you don't have a website, as far as I'm concerned, you're not in business. It ain't happening. I don't care if you try to use other people's websites where you have a profile, it isn't there. You need a website. I don't care if it's 2 or 3 pages, but you've got to tack that first, but make accommodations for future PR. So, if you're a new business, you're going to be talking in press releases once a quarter about some aspect of what you know. If you're a seasoned pro like you, Lisa, you're going to be talking about current events and adapting what you know, right? Because you have to establish credibility first. So those first few press releases are going to need to be about what you know about what your area of expertise is. Then you can roll into making commentary of current events because you've already established a reputation. Because really, PR is about your reputation and what you want to be known for. The good thing about it is that you're controlling it. You don't have to wait. Someone said to me, I sent a proposal to someone several years ago, and they were actually a PR firm, and we were going to help them with their marketing because she had very little business. And so I wrote a proposal, and one of the bullets in the proposal was something like, you are an expert at X, Y, and Z. We can help you do, A, B, and C, whatever the case may be. And she said to me, my husband, who was a senior executive for Amoco Oil at the time, said, how does she know you're an expert? And when she said that to me, I thought, lady, I don't need to be working with you, because if you can't figure out your own narrative and you're in the business, how am I going to promote you? Because you don't have enough confidence in what you do. It's all about the spin. It's all about the right spin. If you can't spin about yourself and you're in the business, what's wrong with this picture, right?
That's a really good point. So I have like 2 questions.
Sure.
One relates to Liz, because I always think, well, we'll do that one first, and then I want to come back to Maynard because he left a question that he'll listen to when he, because he had to drop off. But the first one that relates to Liz is Liz is a speaking in the speaking industry and is a speaker, expert in speaking. With that said, a lot of us that are consultants also speak, if you will, but mainly to promote our consulting business. Can we use, how do we use our speaking opportunities to, from a PR standpoint, or, is it the same as everything else, I guess is the question.
Well, 2 things. If your speaking opportunity is, I would say, if it's open to the public, I would promote that through your social media channels and your website and invite people to attend. If it isn't open to the public, I would put that on your social media channels after the fact to promote the fact that somebody thought highly enough of you and that you were an expert, so that it's almost an after the fact. It was great having participated at this conference. I learned so much and was so grateful to be giving back and talking about X, Y, and Z. So I think it kind of depends upon who the audience is. To me, it's very irritating to see something in social media. Oh, this is coming up. Well, why do I care? I can't attend it anyway. So what's the point, right? But after the fact, it's important. But if it's open to the public or open to the people that follow you. So if you're going to be participating in an industry event, a lot of people are going to we have a client going to an industry event in about 3 weeks. We're all over that because they're going to be exhibiting there and they're going to be sitting on a panel. So we want anybody in the industry to come to that. But fairly big industry, and that's most of the people that follow them. So I think it kind of depends on who you are and what industry you're in and who your followers are. You know, it's different B2B than it is B2C.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And actually, I just spoke to a group of trusted advisors that was not open to the public on healthcare supply chains. And I got like really actually great feedback from that conversation. So perhaps I should post something about enjoying speaking about healthcare supply chains, or say something, because I have a feeling that some of the folks that attended, if I'm connected with them, which of course I connected with all of them after giving that speech, may respond and say something, which I think probably creates more engagement. Is that
Well,
true?
and the other thing you can do is if so, for example, if you had 3 or 4 key points that you wanted to talk to about that, you could also put that in that after post.
Yeah, good idea.
It's
Actually,
great.
I'll note that.
It was great talking to, you know, XYZ organization. I learned a lot. Thanks so much for the feedback. And 3 key, I'm glad I was able to drive home 3 key points, blah, blah, and blah. And
Yeah.
so that way your social audience is learning more about what you can talk about. And that's what's really important. Are they really going to learn as much as what was in the panel? Heck no. But if you can give some key points that they may say, wow. So for example, I host a women's group in inland Southern California. And our topic last month was, we've coined the series Taking Care of Me. And the topic last month was, well, we're kind of the sandwich generation. We're taking care of parents. Some of us are taking care of grandparents. Some of us are worried about kids. We really have to worry about ourselves. What is long-term care? What works, what doesn't work, and what should we be thinking about, right?
Yep.
So what's important? What's important, the key takeaways that we had from that were so powerful that a couple of people said, I want to book you for my meetings.
Yes.
So, you know, you just never know how these kind of things, and 2 of those people, it was 3 people on the panel, 2 of those people posted about it. They got huge response because of the topic. And one of them is a mortgage broker. And people said, we had no idea that your area of specialty was helping seniors figure out how to fund things like long-term care, right? You just would never know. So, you know, one thing spurs another. And this is all about PR. I mean, is it about, you know, you could talk a litany of things in the marketing area, but it all kind of interconnects.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And so Maynard's question, since I know we're getting close to the top of the hour here, is SAC also has the ability to post articles on the SAC website. And so he asked, like, you know, what would you see as that value? And what I'm thinking is that it's similar to like posting an article on you know, at least in my business, I try to post articles on multiple like sources so that people like look for things in different places. So I don't know, what do you think? But that's what I'm thinking the value is.
Yeah, I think the value is, well, certainly to the SAC members, but I think the value is here again, getting your area of expertise exposure. And then most importantly, having links back to your website, because those links to your website are important. But yes, I think anything that provides you with an opportunity to have your name out there, for you to control what is said about you, so you can position your area of expertise, you know, that's what it's all about. You know, the challenge is all this stuff takes time. You know, and in our case, you know, the cobbler's kid for many years had no shoes because I was too busy working with clients. So we now treat us as a client. The one last thing I would we treat us as a client. So we've got a social media calendar, we're issuing press releases, we're doing all that sort of stuff that we do for clients, otherwise it'd never get done. I would be remiss if I didn't make one mention though, and that is videos. So videos are more and more important today than they ever were before, especially short videos. So long videos like this, unless people really want to learn something and use it as a training, they're not going to listen to a 1 hour video, but they're going to listen to something that's less than 5 minutes, hopefully about 3 minutes, right? You can also always embed the link to a video inside of a press release, and that gets a lot of traction. So I would encourage everybody to focus on videos this year because they are going to be more and more impactful. They're going to be more and more important, especially as I tell our clients, our customers are getting younger, whether we are, even though we're getting older, our customers are getting younger and their attention span is that of a gnat. And so if the attention span is that of a gnat, we need to appeal to the gnat, and that's short videos.
Yeah, very, very good point. Well, thank you, Kathy. This has been really helpful. We can ask questions for hours here, but I think the idea, for sure, I have found anyway, that PR is really a key element of like the marketing wheel that Alan Weiss talks about, but it's certainly a key element of how I've gained clients over the because it gives, it's put me out there. And when clients are searching for a supply chain consultant or a SIOP expert, they are finding me now. So it's really quite important. So we appreciate you talking about this important topic. And for those, today and also joining us in our archives, we have some upcoming sessions in April. We're going to have Toby Goodman, who's going to talk about growing your business with podcasting, which, is, as Kathy was saying, videos and podcasts are becoming really popular. I'm seeing a lot of folks using both these days. And then in May, we're going to do another Ask Your Expert session with Steve Markman on growing your speaking business. And in June, we're going to have Robbie Samuels, who's going to talk about low-tech solutions for highly engaging Zoom events. He's just released a book. So hopefully you'll join us in those sessions. And thank you again, Kathy, and everybody for participating.